Off the ball, Nathan with you until 10 o'clock this evening. So we have midweek Premier League action. Liverpool and Arsenal among the teams playing this evening. We'll have team news very shortly. Analysis as well to come at around 7:30 from Mark Lawrenson. And then during the football show, we'll be joined by Kenny Cunningham. We're looking back on the opening weekend of the Allianz Football League. Kerry's Young Guns, 8 debutants in the win over Donegal. Mike Quirk will talk to us about that. Billy Joe Padden as well, raving about the brilliance of Brian Fenton for Dublin. We'll be chatting and looking ahead to next week's games as well with the two lads just after 8 o'clock. 53106 is the text number. You can watch us on Periscope, on YouTube, or if you're watching us right now on Facebook, you can leave a comment right down here and we will get to it as soon as we can. Johnny Ward is in studio with us. How are you?
Good, Nathan. Very well.
Richie is here as well.
Nathaniel,
how's it going? Little bang in your head. Show the people at home.
They've already seen it last night, Nathan.
Oh, did they? Sorry.
Yeah, this is what happens when you don't pay attention to the previous shows.
Gone away. Listen,
the department is out on strike, sadly. They just refuse to deal with my massive shiny noggin.
I pay as much attention as I can to the news round, more than our other guest tonight, Richie, who, and I quote, about 2 minutes before we went on air, is this on the radio as well?
Yeah.
Do you not listen every evening? No,
I usually try to play football or
go on another radio show at the same time.
Yeah, which won't be mentioned here. I'm not a serial podcast or online or radio listener really. I'm a man of old habits really. I don't drive, so I don't have the radio on in the car, and my old kind of gramophone radio passed away recently, so I don't do as much radio.
Can you drive?
I can drive, yeah, but
just choose not to.
Well, basically, I have to get my license, and that would entail doing a lot of tests and doing the theory tests. And even though I want to do it, I just can't get off my backside.
Okay. I instantly regretted asking that question because on past performance from Johnny, he was going to say something like there was a horrific car crash back in the day and he was going to spill all the beans.
Well, my father taught me how to drive, but whatever way he taught me involved a lot of clutching. Like, so I did one lesson, and the guy who was giving me the lesson said, "You're doing everything wrong here." So that kind of, I was a bit demoralised because I was driving competently, but I was clutching all the time. And
your dad, your hero, who had showed you all this great stuff.
Yeah, showed,
wrong all along.
He was
to make you doubt everything in life.
But of course, in East Galway, there wouldn't be the Gardaí on the road, so you could kind of drive away. But those days are gone. But the theory test is a bit of a pain, though, is it?
I passed my test before there was a theory test. But 53106 is the text number if you know anything that can help Johnny Ward get back on the road again. Richie, it's a huge weekend of sport upcoming. I'm sure we're going to start our previews tomorrow night. You have the Six Nations.
Yeah.
Ooh, people love the Six Nations.
They do.
It's going to be hundreds and hundreds of thousands tuning into Joe Malloy and TV3
no pressure
on Sunday and Saturday when Ireland play.
Is he off doing his stretches this evening? Is that why you're here?
Probably is.
Yeah.
It's football and hurling weekend.
Another
people
double.
Love that. You're going to have hundreds of thousands of people travelling to those games.
Yeah.
We've got Liverpool Spurs, the real national sport of football, Premier League.
On the radio.
Wow. None of them are the biggest event of the weekend, according to the man to my left. I'm reading a headline from a well-known national website. Ahead of a huge sporting weekend, 5 reasons why horse racing is actually Ireland's national sport, by Johnny Ward.
I was slightly misquoted there.
What? You don't even
How'd you manage to be slightly misquoted there? What bit of that is incorrect?
So 5 reasons. Number 1, we're so bloody good at it.
Yeah.
As compared to who?
As compared to basically everywhere in the world. You look at Italian racing, German racing just in Europe, wouldn't hold a candle to Ireland. Spanish racing, Turkish racing, they all race. Scotland wouldn't be within an ass's roar, as my mother would say of us. The only comparable countries really would be the USA, Britain and France, and to a lesser extent obviously Australia. But pound for pound, considering the amount of people that live in the country, somebody said to me recently as well, if you were to name the top 100 national hunt horses in Ireland and Britain, 80 of them could be from Ireland. And that's absolutely amazing. Now, the cynic will say, well, no wonder we've great horses because Charlie Haughey waived stallion fees back in the day for whatever reason. In fairness, it revolutionised.
If our Gaelic footballers didn't have to pay any tax, we'd be keeping them all here playing Gaelic football instead of off playing rugby and soccer.
And they're quite well catered for. There's certain examples recently of lad offered League of Ireland contract and went playing for the county instead, offered a car and all that sort of stuff going on, so they're fairly well looked after. But you could point to the Charlie Haughey thing, and you could also certainly point to the fact that the government is more or less paying half of the prize money in Ireland. Now that's the big issue that in terms of the sustainability, and also the fact that Naas Racecourse on Sunday admitted that 80% of their money comes from TV rights. So there are the house isn't built on the strongest foundation, I would say. But in terms of our ability, in terms of horsemen, jockeys and horses, we're the best pound for pound in the world.
How does the government justify supplying half the prize money? Is that national hunt and flat?
It is. I think
sustain the industry. Is that the simple explanation?
I think prize money is very important, and it has now come to the stage where you have English owners like Tony Bloom, who owns Brighton, and Hove Albion has horse in Ireland. Graham Wiley, a Geordie, has horse in Ireland. Richie has horse in Ireland, obviously American, but living in England. And I think prize money is a huge thing, to be honest, and that's definitely helping the industry be as good as it is. But I mean, I would certainly say that there was the old Fianna Fáil tent in Galway, and there was the racing and the political parties, the established political parties, and I don't really include Labour in this, had a very, they were very friendly, shall we say. And I think racing's worry is in the future, if we had a proper left-wing government in this country, racing could be in stuck. And
people who didn't like to party.
What's that?
The people who didn't like to party.
Yeah. Whether it's justifiable, I don't know. You know, we hear claims of 20,000 people being employed in the industry. I do think one of the key points is it's primarily rural based, and if you go home, Nathan, you will attest to the fact that there are a lot of rural backwaters that haven't really risen out of the recession, and you know, places like where Willie Mullins is based, Jim Bulger and Carlow and Kilkenny and places like that, they provide huge employment. But in fairness to HRI as well, in the long term, they don't want to be supported by the government. But we have another issue. I mean, if you have a bet on Liverpool to beat Huddersfield tonight, the proceeds are going to Irish racing, which again is hard to argue.
Number 2, sisters do it for themselves.
I feel very strong on this one. We've an incredibly, I would say racing has become, for what would be considered an old-fashioned type of pursuit, sexism is no way rife at all or rampant, and I think the success of female riders and trainers is really, really, really something for racing to be proud of. Roughly 50-50 split in terms of personnel in the industry. Nina Carberry is one of the best amateurs around. Michael O'Leary uses her. Rachel Blackmore, Katie O'Farrell and Lisa O'Neill. Lisa O'Neill has won 2 Kerry Nationals back to back. Last year, Jessica Harrington at 70 won the Gold Cup and the Irish National, and Jessie I remember her in the parade ring afterwards. She had her wrist was in some sort of a cast because she'd injured at skiing. She was 70. She was back riding a horse within a few days at home. She's a phenomenal woman. And honestly, Nathan, you know, it just doesn't really matter anymore. If you see a girl on a horse, it just doesn't matter. There's no snobbery or no kind of...
There's no differentiation.
There's no differentiation, really. No innate kind of sexism that you would have in other sports. And even, you know, the Gaelic Games last year, 45,000 people went to see the girls' final in the football at Croke Park. My sister played a bit for Galway, and I really enjoyed watching ladies football, but a lot of blokes just wouldn't even entertain the idea still. But in racing, nobody cares anymore. The champion conditional is Rachel Blackmore. Champion apprentice in England is also a female, Josie Gordon. Nobody cares, as far as I'm concerned.
In a good way.
In a very good way. Yeah. And yeah, I think it's something to be very proud of in racing.
You were doing yourself a disservice. You're selling this really well.
Yeah.
Of course, your last one was just get to the Dublin Racing Festival.
I like the way you've skipped 3 and 4.
No, it's fine. Listen,
just get to Dublin Racing Festival. Okay.
So the last day you were in with us was a Saturday afternoon. It was about 3 o'clock, and we said, Johnny, you got a tip for us. Johnny gave us a tip. Hunter's Call. 16-1. Boom.
I was seriously hungover that day, I have to say, and it kind of half got me through it. But you were really hungover when you didn't back it.
I was very, very frustrated.
Dublin Racing Festival, gents, is on.
Have you got one for us?
Saturday and Sunday, inaugural renewal of it. They're talking about aggregate attendance of something like 25,000. I'd be very disappointed if it weren't more than that. I think it should be closer to 30,000 for the 2 days. No reason not to go. I'm going to give my tip as Off You Go. And because Boyle Sports are very friendly with Off the Ball now, it's sponsored by a rival firm, so I'm not going to name the rival firm. But it's a hurdle race. Off You Go.
They bought our love.
JP McManus trains it for Charles Burns.
What sort of odds?
Off You Go.
What sort of odds?
7-1.
Okay.
I think it's 6-1 with Boyle Sports, and it'll probably be 6-1 across the board tomorrow anyway. But if you can get on with Boyle Sports,
Well,
I
after
think
this, Johnny, it could be down to 5-1.
Yeah, I think it's a good price. I think talking to Eddie O'Leary, there's a chance that Mind's Eye isn't going to go for the race. He's a big danger. So him, and my other selection would be Total Recall in the other handicap hurdle, but he's very short.
All right, Johnny's going to stay with us for the news round. We're going to bring you all the team news from the Premier League fixtures shortly. Virgil van Dijk on the bench for Liverpool, and it's a busy day in the transfer market as well. The transfer window closes tomorrow night. Manchester City looking to break their transfer record twice between now and then. But Frank Rainey, News Talk's courts correspondent, is on the line. Frank was in Belfast Crown Court today for the start of the rape trial involving Irish rugby internationals Paddy Jackson and Stuart Olding, along with two of their friends. Frank, what happened in court today?
Well, today was the official beginning, I suppose, of the trial. We had jury selection yesterday, which took some time before they settled on 12 jurors. And today then, Toby Hedworth, who is the prosecuting barrister, took to his feet and spent about an hour going through his opening address to the jurors, which is basically just a brief outline of the allegations against the four accused, and I suppose it acts as a bit of a roadmap as to how the prosecution is going to navigate its way through the next few weeks of evidence. It's not evidence as such, it's just an outlay of the case. The first day of evidence is tomorrow. What
charges are Jackson and Olding facing?
Paddy Jackson and Stuart Olding are both facing and both deny a rape allegation. So they're accused of raping the same woman at Paddy Jackson's home in South Belfast in June 2016. And Mr. Hedworth said that on June 27th, 2016, the complainant, a young woman, she was a student in Belfast at the time, and she had gone to a nightclub with some friends in Belfast city centre that night, and they were in the VIP section of this nightclub where some Ulster rugby players and some Northern Ireland footballers were socialising. This was just after Northern Ireland had returned from the Euros. She said that she was invited to go back to a house party in Mr. Jackson's home afterwards. And Mr. Hedworth said that she would describe, when she gives evidence, going upstairs with him to his bedroom at one point where there was some consensual kissing, she said. But she said in her statement to police that she made it very clear to him, to Paddy Jackson at the time, that she wouldn't go any further than a bit of kissing. She said that they returned downstairs, and she decided at that point that she wanted to leave the party. She said the atmosphere downstairs had changed by the time that she came down. She decided she wanted to go, but she realised as she was preparing to leave that she had left her clutch bag up in Mr. Jackson's room, so she went up to retrieve it. She claims he followed her upstairs, and that once inside his bedroom, she claims he pushed her onto the bed, pulled down her trousers and raped her. Now, the allegation against Stuart Olding is that he entered the room while this was happening and forced her to perform oral sex on him.
Two of their friends, Blaine McElroy and Rory Harrison, are also standing trial. What's the prosecution's case against them?
Yes, so Blaine McElroy is from Royal Lodge Road in Belfast City, and the jury heard today that it would be alleged that he sent Paddy Jackson a text message at some point while he was upstairs about the possibility of a threesome, and that without receiving a reply from Mr. Jackson, he entered the room stark naked with his penis in his hand. Mr. Hedworth said the woman then managed to leave the room at this point, and as she was leaving, McElroy apparently or allegedly asked her why she wouldn't have sex with him too, and she told the police that she asked, how many times does it take for a girl to say no before it sinks in? Now, Rory Harrison is the fourth man on trial. He's from Mance Road, also in Belfast City, a friend of the three other accused. He was also at the party that night, and he offered to take this woman home in a taxi afterwards. We heard that he walked her up to the door of her place at about 5:15 on the morning of June 28th, 2016. Mr. Hedworth said there were a few text messages exchanged between them afterwards, including one where he's alleged to have told her to keep the chin up. We heard she texted him a few hours later to say that what happened was not consensual. But the prosecution claims that Harrison deleted that text message and the others that were exchanged between them in those few hours. He told the police when he was eventually taken in to give a witness statement, he wasn't being treated as a suspect a couple of days later, he gave a witness statement, and he said he didn't notice anything peculiar about the woman's appearance, demeanour or clothing while she was in the taxi. He said that she seemed to have her eye on Paddy that night and was fixated by him. He said at one point that she seemed starstruck, and that when Paddy went up to bed alone about an hour after the party started, he claims that she went up and followed him about 5 minutes later. So he has been charged with perverting the course of justice and with withholding information.
We also heard today of some evidence surrounding WhatsApp messages exchanged in the hours after the alleged rape. What can you tell us about those messages?
Yeah, well, these messages, that a few of them were read out to the jury. We'll get the remainder and I suppose more detail on them as the trial progresses. But Mr. Headwood, the prosecuting barrister, said that he felt these text messages gave the true flavour of the attitude of the defendants. It seems to be a bit of a WhatsApp group between the men and other friends, and it began, Mr. Headwood said, with Stuart Olding texting the group saying, "We are all top shaggers. There was a bit of spit roasting going on last night, fellas." Jackson immediately replied, apparently, there was a lot of spit, to which Olding replies, "It was like a merry-go-round at a carnival." Blaine McElroy, then, one of the other accused, is alleged to have texted Harrison to say last night was hilarious, and another friend joined in at some point just around lunchtime saying, "Boys, did you lads spit roast lasses?" And he goes on to describe them as legends.
How long will the trial last, Frank?
The jury were told at jury selection yesterday that if they are to serve on the jury, they should expect to make themselves available for the next 5 weeks, which is a long time, I suppose, for a rape trial. Rape trials ordinarily that I would have covered in Dublin down in the Central Criminal Court, where there is just one accused, usually take a little over a week maybe. But given the fact, I suppose, that there are 4 accused, potentially 4 legal teams will be able to cross-examine prosecution witnesses, of which there are over 30. It has been penciled in for 5 weeks.
And when do you expect to hear from the complainant?
She, we've been told, is due to give evidence at 10:30 this morning. So the outline that I'm after giving you is just what Toby Hedworth said to the jury today. That again is not evidence. The first prosecution witness to be called will be the complainant, and she's due to give evidence at about 10:30 tomorrow morning.
All right, thanks very much for taking the call. Frank Graney there, News Talk Courts correspondent, reporting from Belfast Crown Court. Now, Richie is here with the news round. It is a busy day in the Premier League. Tomorrow night, no doubt, it's all going to be about the transfer window and the closing of the transfer window and a record-breaking
it seems window. Manchester City could break their transfer record twice inside 24 hours. They today completed the club record signing of French defender Aymeric Laporte for £57 million from Athletic Bilbao, and tonight they've been linked with a £60 million move for Leicester's Riyad Mahrez. That interest has reportedly prompted the Algerian playmaker to hand in a transfer request at the King Power. Laporte signed a 5-year contract at the Etihad this morning, and he took part in training today. His new manager Pep Guardiola says Laporte is immediately available, but has asked for a degree of patience.
Of course, he has to adapt. Premier League is special in many senses, but I think he's intelligent. He will read what is the situation, but he has to live it individually. Even for the English players, the young players, when come in the Premier League, always is a little bit, tough. So we'll be patient, because he doesn't come for 3 months. He comes for 4 or 5 years. So that is what it is.
So Manchester City's potential back four: Kyle Walker right back, £50 million. John Stones centre back, £50 million. Aymeric Laporte centre back, £57 million. Benjamin Mendy left back, £52 million. Over £200 million on your back four.
It's working for them.
How could it not work for you? How could it not?
Yeah, I think that you were saying that with this guy, his ability to play on the ball is certainly key. I think that's the big thing with Guardiola, unless you can pass the ball very well. But in fairness, the Liverpool game showed that if they're rushed to a certain extent, they are a little bit vulnerable.
Yeah, you can get at them. But again, you're talking about maybe the one of 2 or 3 teams in all of Europe that can press that well and get at them that well. The other signing of Mahrez just seems... Listen, why not? Leroy Sané is out for, 6 weeks? And they're going to go and spend potentially at least £60 million? They don't need Riyad Mahrez. They've Bernardo Silva, who they just spent £40 million on.
It's a flexing of their muscles that should scare other sides, and should scare other sides in Europe. Not necessarily from how much are they going to win the league by, but when you see their ability to keep on doing this at the expense of other clubs, that report that was put into the wealth of Premier League clubs, was it last week or the week before, that showed that Bournemouth are more powerful financially than most Bundesliga or most Serie A clubs at this stage. That's frightening stuff.
Yeah, because I was all for this Manchester City sort of experiment under Pep Guardiola, because you go to the Etihad and you're watching arguably the best team in the world right now, and they're playing stunning football. They're taking team apart. The intensity of their play is probably unlike anything we've seen in the Premier League. But the novelty of that's going to wear off pretty quickly if it's the exact same next year. And it's only when you're watching Premier League years on a Tuesday morning you realise the importance of a rivalry, the importance of having a United and Arsenal going ahead and looking forward to these big games. Like even Liverpool-Manchester City, which was one of the great Premier League games a couple of weeks ago, you're looking forward to it for entertainment, but not because of it mattering.
That's what the Premier League is becoming, and that's what they're happy enough when you see the deal for the highlights for the Premier League today being resold to the BBC for £211 million. Like ultimately what they're selling is a product, and that product is an entertainment product. It's not necessarily, as much as the romantics in the room might like to see it remain a sport, it's not. It's getting arses on seats every 18 inches, and it's getting people to buy subscriptions to TV channels, and that's all it is.
Why aren't Liverpool going for Mahrez? Perfect replacement for Coutinho, says Jack in Santry. Money, I guess, is one of the main reasons. Maybe it doesn't work hard enough for Jurgen Klopp. We can ask Mark Lawrenson about that. But also, so Mahrez has handed in a transfer request, £60 million, but understandably Leicester are saying, well, if Philippe Coutinho is worth more than twice that, you might get him for 60 million quid.
The figure I saw, I don't know how true it is today, was 90 million quid is what it would take to separate Mahrez from Leicester. Now again, we have to take that.
It's a guy who didn't even try for 6 months.
I'm trying to count how many transfer requests Mahrez has now handed in at Leicester, or at least has signalled his unhappiness at the club. Like, I'm not sure it's a lad you want to pay 90 million quid for, or anything approaching that.
So some of the more interesting stories tomorrow probably going to involve Arsenal.
Yeah, Pierre-Emerick Aubameyang will undergo his Arsenal medical tomorrow ahead of his proposed move from Borussia Dortmund. A fee of around £60 million has been agreed between the clubs for the Gabon striker, who is already in London. That move will seemingly free up Olivier Giroud to move to Chelsea in a deal worth nearly £18 million, while Michy Batshuayi has reportedly agreed a move to Borussia Dortmund, which would trigger the completion of the Aubameyang deal. A lot of wheels in motion for this one.
I don't get why Arsenal are selling Giroud to Chelsea.
I don't get why Chelsea are getting rid of Batshuayi for Giroud.
I like Giroud. He's a good impact player. Look at his record of goals off the bench.
He's 31. Like, it's grand. Like,
he's an 18-month deal.
Paying 18 million quid for someone, and just like as shown with Aubameyang in the past week or so, show a bit of patience, give him a bit of game time. He'll get goals for you eventually. He's not a Belgium international striker for nothing.
But he's barely a Belgium international striker.
He's not a Belgium international striker for nothing. We're relying on the likes of Scott Hogan to get us goals on the international level. I'll take a Batshuayi over him, to be honest.
Bit harsh. What about Declan Rice, eh?
Yeah, he is in the West Ham starting 11 for tonight's meeting with Crystal Palace. We'll get to the Arsenal and Swansea team news in a moment. But Declan Rice restored to the back three for West Ham tonight, who line out with Adrian in goal, James Collins, Declan Rice and Angelo Ogbonna as their back three, with Sam Byram and Paulo Zabaleta either side of them. Mark Noble, Checo Kouyaté and João Mario and Aaron Cresswell are in midfield, with Javier Hernandez leading the line for them. For Palace, Wayne Hennessy's in goal, a back four of Timothy Fossey-Mensah, Martin Kelly, James Tompkins and Patrick Van Aanholt. Captain Luka Milivojevic is partnered in midfield by James McArthur. In front of them, the trio of Andres Townsend, Bakary Sacco and Wilfred Zaha, with Christian Benteke leading their line. Kick-off there at 7:45. Arsenal are in Premier League action tonight. They could leapfrog Spurs into 5th spot with a win away to bottom side Swansea. The hosts have Lucas Fabianski in goal, a back five of Kyle Naughton, Mike van der Horn, Federico Fernandez, Alfie Mawson and Martin Olsen. In midfield sit Sam Klukas and Ki Sung-yeon, with Leroy Fer and Nathan Dyer either side of Jordan Ayew. For Chelsea, Petr Cech starts in goal. They've got a back four of Hector Bellerin, Shkodran Mustafi, Lauren Koscielny and Nacho Monreal. Mohamed El Neni and Granit Xhaka sit in midfield. In front of them, Aaron Ramsey, Alex Iwobi and Mesut Ozil, with Alexandre Lacazette up front. Henrik Mkhitaryan and the aforementioned Giroud are on the Arsenal bench. Jack Wilshere misses out through injury. No Roque Mesa for Swansea tonight as well. He has joined Sevilla on loan until the end of the season.
Declan Rice, a lot of reports in the papers this morning that he is going to stick with Ireland. A lot of relief. I think some of this started on the Keith Andrews show last Thursday, where I think Keith was giving the example of Jack Grealish, how this can quickly turn, that when agents and when interest from the English media starts, that it's very easy for a young lad's head to be turned. Declan Rice has only just turned 19. Alright, he's been involved in the underage setup, but boy, do we need him. We need him probably more than we needed Jack Grealish.
We need young players. I actually tried to get an interview with Tom Mohan there, the kid who made his Premier League debut about a week ago. Obafemi. And the FAI were got back to me and they were like, we don't want to put too much pressure on the kids, so the interview was turned down. But if that were genuine, fair enough. We need young players coming through.
I don't know if I want these 17-year-old prospects talking to Johnny Ward either, in fairness.
Tainting them forevermore.
That's a little bit. I was trying to get an interview, which isn't that easy with the FAI, but we need young players, and it's also encouraging to see the players coming from the League of Ireland that have gone through. Ogbenny signed for Brentford today. Fuad Sule went to Barnet. Obviously McElhinney went as well. Ogbenny's one definitely to keep an eye out on, and I think we'll see more players coming through the League of Ireland because it's going to be under 13s up from very soon. But that's in fairness to Martin O'Neill. I don't think he'd much faith at all in the youths coming through. Stuck to tried and tested. Even
one of the quotes I saw from the other day when he's talking about bringing through younger players, the ages he mentioned were 25, 26, 27, and it's like you need to look a bit younger than that to try and build something.
I don't
more.
know where they are. I've watched quite a few of the under-21 games, with the exception of Declan Rice, possibly Josh Cullen. I don't see anyone in the under-21, so it is those guys who are maybe going back at 23, 24, who've been in his extended 40-man squads, that he's going to have to look to. Like, it's not Martin O'Neill's job to look at guys who are on the under-21 squad, who are on the fringes of the first team or playing under-23 football, and to give them the experience. They need to do it themselves at club level, and then he responds.
Why isn't it?
Because he's the senior international manager. He's not the director of football.
I think his remit is just to get us to whatever the next tournament is.
Well, that's an FAI problem.
Yeah, well, it is. The FAI has a big debt, and they don't really care beyond getting to the tournament. And sadly,
there is, and I think actually, if you come to peace with that, life's a lot easier. Because I would have been. You get very angry about why is Martin O'Neill doing this, and this. Actually, his job, his remit, as Johnny says, is to qualify for major tournaments. There are other people, there are other roles that should be doing that, but I don't think his job is to give 21 and 22 year olds a chance at international level in the hope that somehow they take that and then go back to the Brighton under 23s.
It's not like Clifford and Kerry where you've this like dilemma over how young he is. We just don't really seem to have the players.
Declan Rice, if he commits to Ireland, will play for Ireland in March, and in all likelihood will start in the Nations League in September.
Where though? Centre half or midfield? Probably.
I played three at the back. I've played to our strengths.
Right.
Three at the back. Duffy, Clark, Rice, Coleman and Brady as our two wing backs. Arthur, Hendrick, maybe somebody else in the middle. I don't know who's going to play up front.
Harahan in midfield?
I don't know. I'd probably still stick with Wes for now. Oh, Stephen Ireland. Stephen Ireland for 70 minutes. Wes for 20 at the end, and we'll give Shane Long another go up front.
Martin O'Neill was a big 3-5-2 man at Leicester back in the day.
Go for it. I'm all for it. Play to your strengths. Coleman and Brady as your two wing backs.
Do you think the humiliation of the Denmark game is going to force this is slate clean, we're going to start again?
No. Have you seen his interviews?
No, not a chance.
The Liverpool team.
Yeah, at 8, Liverpool looking to end a run of 2 straight defeats. They're taking on Huddersfield at King Power. Loris Karius starts in the Liverpool goal. Joe Gomez, Joel Matip, Dejan Lovren and Andy Robertson. Where's Virgil van Dijk, you might ask? He's on the bench. Emery Chan, Jordan Henderson and James Milner are in midfield. A front 3 for them of Mo Salah, Sadio Mane and Roberto Firmino. They've got a back 5 really for Huddersfield tonight. Lossell, Hader-Gunaj, Congolo, Schindler and Jorgensen and Lowe across the defence for them. Aaron Moy, Jonathan Hogg and Philip Billing in midfield. Steve Mounier and Laurent Depoitre are up front for them. France have been struck with a further injury blow ahead of Saturday's Six Nations opener with Ireland. Saracens hooker Chris Tolofua will miss the entire competition. He has a neck injury. That leaves uncapped Adrien Pellissier as the only cover for Guillaume Grado, who has been suffering with gastroenteritis this week. No injury worries for Ireland, and today Munster centre Sam Arnold trained with the squad to give him a taste of the international setup. Robbie Henshaw says their 10-9 loss to Les Bleus in Paris 2 years ago has informed their preparations for this week.
Their back 3 alone, they've quality. Teddy Thomas on the wing and a few guys like that. So we've done our homework and we know what they're going to bring to us. So definitely we've looked at some images from what happened there 2 years ago, and how it was a bit of an arm wrestle and then we let it away. But we look to make it paint a different picture this week.
The Worcester winger Josh Adams will make his Wales debut in their opening Six Nations game with Scotland on Saturday. He's the only non-Scarlets player named in the back line, with the Champions Cup quarter-finalists providing 10 of Warren Gatlin's starting 15. No George North in the matchday 23. The Northampton winger complained of tight legs at the weekend. Wales are without a host of players, not only North for the opening round of the Six Nations and possibly beyond as well. And Gatlin says the workload on his players is asking a lot.
Particularly after probably a Lions year as well. There's players haven't had a huge amount of time in the off season in terms of the opportunity to prepare and recover. And a lot of teams are in pretty much the same boat with the amount of injuries, and just the way that the game's sort of going at the moment, that you just got to plan for and prepare for potential injuries, and I look at it as a positive, that it means that other players are going to get an opportunity.
We shouldn't forget, Richie, it is a huge weekend for our national sport.
Not mentioned this
Rugby.
yet.
Faugheen is back.
Yeah, confirmed to run in Saturday's Irish Champion Hurdle at Leopardstown. The 10-year-old's last outing saw him pulled up in the Ryanair Hurdle at the same course over the Christmas. The Willie Mullins Raider, one of 9 horses left in contention for the Grade 1, along with the likes of Mellon, Defi Desoy and Jeski. The Irish Champion Hurdle, one of 3 Grade 1s on the opening day of the 2-day Dublin Racing Festival, which my colleague to the right may have mentioned once or twice so far this afternoon.
Is Faugheen still the machine?
Who knows? The money has actually been for Mellon, his stablemate, who wouldn't have his ability at all on his day. It's going to answer a lot of questions, and I really hope he runs. Do
you think they've increased security around Faugheen?
I don't think they have. No, I don't know what you're getting at there, Nathan. It mentioned in the Guardian, no less, actually, yesterday.
Fill us in here in this one, Johnny.
Johnny mentioned on a rival show over the Christmas.
I speculated that he could have been tampered with beforehand. It wasn't as outlandish as some people think.
Well, actually, it maybe came across as outlandish at the time, considering it was just hours after it had happened and there was nobody else really saying it seemed. But there probably is a bigger story in terms of how easy it would be.
Yeah.
Horses to be tampered with.
It's definitely, it'd be a good sting operation to see, is it possible? In fairness to Turf Club, they do a very good job, but nothing has come to light. Nobody knows why he ran so badly. So I just hope, Nathan, that it's not a situation which happens so many times where you build up a festival, you build up this and that, and then at the last knock-ins the horse is not declared or declared non-runner, and everyone feels a bit flat. So I just hope he runs. I really do.
We're going to be talking about Kerry and their young stars just after 8 o'clock with Mike Quirk and Billy Joe Padden, but no rest for them.
Yeah, 2 of them were 2 of the 4 in this afternoon's Sigerson Cup action. David Clifford kicked 1-4 as IT Treleaby Queen's University 2-8 to 11 points to set up a quarter final with either DIT or IT Carlow next week. And an injury time goal from Kerry's Killing Spillane saw UCC beat Garda College 1-12 to 2-7 this afternoon. They'll meet NUI Galway next. UL, meanwhile, they were 2-13 to 1-11 winners over Cork IT, and they progressed to a quarter final with either UUJ or St Mary's.
Alright, good stuff, Richie. Richie will be here throughout the evening, keeping us up to date with all the latest in the Premier League and all the championship scores as well. Johnny, thanks a lot for coming in. What was your tip again?
I can't remember. It was called Off You Go.
Off You Go.
Yeah, Off You Go.
Leopardstown.
I think that's on the Saturday. So for JP McManus, Charles Burns.
Alright, good stuff. Thanks a lot for coming in, Johnny. We're going to talk to Mark Lawrenson next.
Off the Ball on News Talk,
in association with the Air Sport app, allowing you to cast your favourite sporting action from your tablet or mobile phone straight to your TV.
News Talk Breakfast.
The tendency of individual vocations and professions to move towards insisting on third level degrees as an entry requirement, I think they're mistaken. I mean, if you look at Michael Collins, he was killed at 31, and by that stage he'd led a national revolution. He'd been the state's first finance minister. People can achieve fantastic things in their 20s, and we're teaching them to focus on regurgitating what teacher told them.
News Talk Breakfast,
in association with Air.
Back tomorrow on News Talk.
Book now with the new hotel booking website, RyanairRooms.com. You can choose from 1 million rooms worldwide, from 3 to 5-star hotels. There's free cancellation rates on most, and we're the only hotel site that pays you 10% credit back to use on your next Ryanair flight. Ryanair Rooms. Terms and conditions apply. See RyanairRooms.com.
News Talk's Happily Hired, brought to you by Jobio.
Jobio is the place where millions of talented people find their dream job. Bank of Ireland Payment Acceptance need a customer service rep with call centre experience. And if you're fluent German, iBet Global graduates might want you. They need a publicity and trade marketing assistant. Finally, one of the big 4, Deloitte, are looking for a Maximo consultant.
To find your dream job or to make your next great hire,